whatever destruction you hand out to others, you are also handing out to yourselves. This is why when we hand out any kind of destruction, it is not having the intended consequence. Let's say that you are really angry with someone, and so you send out something very angry to somebody. And you think, oh good, I set that person in their right place. And you feel, momentarily vindicated. Well, what happens is, sometimes long later, sometimes right away, but sometimes it'll be long later that someone will then come and attack you for something that they feel that they have been wronged by, and you will then feel a certain way, and you'll think, what is happening? Why? Where did this come from? Why is this happening in this way? And you will have long forgotten that at some point you had handed something out to somebody else that you are then having to pay for. If you actually examine your mind, and if you are actually truly honest with yourself, you could find and you could determine that yes, the things that have been handed out in the past are returned back. This could be things that you strongly feared. This could be things that you have done to others. This could be beliefs that you really held dear to yourself. And these things become true in your life. They are returned to you through magnetism. So, think of it this way. Your thoughts, your words, your actions are like a boomerang, and that what you send out, it comes back to you. So, you cannot escape it coming back to you. You can't just step out the side and be like, that boomerang's not going to hit me. No, it is going to come back to you. So magnetism is when, electromagnetism is when an electrical force gets sent out. And then it gets sent out. It temporarily disappears. Where does it go? We don't know. Nobody knows. But we do know that it then all of a sudden reappears and comes back exactly in the same frequency that it was sent out. Now, I say same frequency. So this does not necessarily mean that the exact same thing that you did to somebody else will come back, but it will feel the same. It will be of the same vibration. So you could sit there and you could, which I know that you don't, but you could sit there and you could, talk bad about somebody. And let's say that you're doing this, but you're doing it in secret, right? Or you believe it to be secret. And so you think that there's no harm that is coming to this other person. So let me give you an example of, let's say that you live in a small town. And so there's one person, or maybe, it doesn't have to be a small town, but there's one person and everybody kind of knows about this person, and this person's got a lot of problems. Maybe this person, I don't know what their problem is, but they got something. And so everybody likes to talk about them, right? Because as they're talking about them, give them something to do, they're bored, they don't realize that it's actually harming this person, and so they continue to do it. Now, the harm that is actually done is that it is received subconsciously on a soul level by this person who everybody's speaking bad about. And so this person, because of everybody's expectations and everybody's beliefs of them, and it's being thrust and put on them, it's being sent into their energy field, this person is receiving this, and then they are stuck. Why is it that these people say, oh yeah, for 30 years this person's been this way? Why is that? And they blame that person, and then they continue to talk bad about this person, when it is essentially the energy that is being directed at this person that is keeping them stuck. And so through this process, of all the people who have contributed, well, what harm is done to this person because of that? I don't know. But whatever harm is being done to that person, so they send out, oh, I'm just going to talk about this person, I'm just going to whatever. So they send that out and they think, oh, I haven't done anything wrong, I just, spoke truth, this person's a whatever. Okay, well, whatever harm has happened, so imagine that you then send out a boomerang, but it actually picks things up and it brings them back to you amplified. This is what happens. So the harm that has been done to that person on a subconscious spiritual level is then now going to be returned back to you at some point. And you will say, what? This is unjustified. Why am I going through this? What is happening? And it is because of things like this. We are so unaware of the fact that our thoughts are electric. So if you've ever worked with, let's say, an energy healer, okay, You're working with somebody like across the world. They happen to live in Greece, you happen to live in America. Why is it that you can feel that person's energy and that they can tune in and that they can do things for you across the world? Right? Well, of course they can do this because everything is just light and vibration and frequency, and distance is not actually real. It actually doesn't apply to the energetic world. So you can't escape the things that you put out. So this energy is received whether that person is in the same room with you hearing what you're saying or whether they're not. And when we realize this, then we can be very delicate with the things that we do. Would you want somebody sitting there talking about you on your worst day? You wouldn't. I know you wouldn't. And so when we repeat and we tell these stories about, oh, this unfortunate thing that has happened to this person, what are we doing? Think about the vibration of that. You think that you're empathizing, that you're sympathizing with them, and that you're, oh, you know, poor so-and-so, this terrible, unfortunate event has happened to this person, and oh, isn't this sad? No, it's really just giving somebody something to talk about. But what's happening is, notice how the energy dips, if this was the case. Notice how the energy, the frequency, the vibration lowers within your body. It's noticeable when you speak about such things. So what has happened in this is not only have you lowered your frequency, which isn't helping anybody, but you have then, because you've involved this person, you have then sent them some more of that low vibrational energy that they just experienced. You've sent more. So when in the Christ letters he's talking about, don't, lower yourself to whatever, this is what they're speaking of. So just imagine this. So somebody has had an unfortunate thing happen, and you would normally talk about it and be like, the unfortunate thing happened. Well, what if you didn't speak about it at all? And what if instead you sent this joyful energy that, because this thing has happened for this person, something wonderful is going to follow. Something really good is going to happen, and maybe through that unfortunate event they will wake up and they will realize that it is something in his karma, something has returned back to them, and that there will be some lesson that is in it that is going to help them to gain the spiritual heights perhaps that they've been seeking. Or perhaps it will wake them up to the spiritual world that they didn't even know existed. When you send out this high positive energy, what are you doing? Are you doing harm to that person? No, you are blessing them. Are you taking anything away from them? No, you are blessing them. You are only giving goodness. Whereas when you lower yourself and you repeat the terrible, horrible destruction that has happened, not only are you lowering your frequency, and because you're doing this, you're now also doing this to yourself. You're planting seeds of that vibration in the now, which is the only place that you can plant it, and through electromagnetism you're going to get more of that same energy. You'll notice that people who have unfortunate stories always have unfortunate stories, right? Because they draw and attract more to themselves because they're constantly planting them, so they're constantly harvesting them. And this is not helpful to anybody, because they could change their world that they're living in, and instead of having it be some sad, unfortunate misery after misery, they could change it to be some wonderful, beautiful, heightened, the highest vibration frequency possible, and they could create and bring heaven into their life. And by doing this, not only are they changing their own life, but they are then changing the expectations of those in and around their environment. And then pretty soon, those destructive, chaotic stories will stop, and there will be wonderful things that they will be talking about. And there will be wonderful things that they are planting. And instead of planting the hell that they didn't even know that they were doing, they will begin to be planting the heaven that they will then be very aware that they are doing. And through doing this, they are then blessing others, and through the boomerang, it's going to come back and bless them as well. Plus, like we talked about before, the boomerang sometimes is, if you send out something negative, and it's going to pick up whatever happened to that person, and it's because of that, and it's going to bring it back to you amplified. Blessings work this same way. So as you bless other people, and as you speak good, kind words to them, when maybe others wouldn't, go to their defense. all the souls here on this earth. They're just souls. They're just spiritual beings that are here learning lessons. And we're all here for different reasons. We're all here to, bring heaven on earth, but we're here to heal different things. I saw in my life, mine was about forgiveness. Like, at least one of the components of it was about forgiveness. And so in order to come here for forgiveness, well, what has to happen? Well, somebody's got to do something to you that you then have to forgive. So somebody had to come here and agree to play that role of, okay, I'm going to harm you in this way, and then you're going to have to forgive me. And it's going to be real tough, because I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to acknowledge the thing that I've done. The list goes on and on. I'm going to make it real tough for you. But through you doing that, you are going to evolve spiritually huge. There will be huge progress. And so this was the case in my life, right? Somebody had to harm me. And when you realize it on that level, and you're like, okay, so this person actually agreed to come here and harm me and to play that role. Why? Because they love me so much that I requested this so that I could spiritually evolve. You then realize that there's actually nothing to forgive. There's nothing to forgive. There's only more things to love. Of like, thank you that you actually love me so much that you came here to harm me. Because how difficult would it be to be on the other side of that and to have known that you've harmed someone and to then have to forgive yourself? I would say that that's even more difficult than having to forgive somebody else. It's more difficult to forgive yourself if you've truly harmed somebody else. And so they're sacrificing themselves as well, because they're then going to have to deal with the guilt and the shame of all the things that they are then holding within their body. And why would we want this? Why would we choose this for ourselves? We would only do this for love. We would only do this because we love somebody else. We would only do this because we know that through healing these hard and difficult things, it evolves us spiritually. And so we would come here and we would do these things because we're like, hey man, evolution's real and I want to evolve, and this is what it takes. This is what I'm going to do this round. And it's not going to be this round for everybody, right? Forgiveness is the deal in my life. That's how it's been. And that's what I came here for, among other things. But maybe it's not for you. Maybe your difficult thing, more than likely, is something completely different than that. It's whatever the most difficult thing is for you. The things I went through, some people would think, oh, that's no big deal. I could get over that. I could whatever. Well, for me, it was the hard thing. Meanwhile, some of the things that I've been through, somebody might think, oh, wow, that's a difficult thing. How'd you get through that? And for me, it was no thing. We're all completely different, and we're all here for different reasons. And so when you can do the difficult thing, when you can do that hard thing, that's the thing. That's the thing that when you do it, and it maybe even seems impossible, how could I ever get over this? How could I ever forgive myself for this? How could I ever that is the work to be done. Because the only way that you can get over those difficult things is truly finding the truth of existence. It's finding the actual divine love. It is through spiritually seeking. You can't go to a talk therapist and have somebody, just sit there and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. You're planting the seeds again and again and again and again and again as you do this. You're taking yourself into that frequency. This is why, hypnotherapy is so valuable, because you bring it up temporarily, but then you fix it and you correct it, and then it's gone and done. You're not talking about it for 2 years. You're talking about it for 2 minutes. There's a huge difference. And so then you're not planting these seeds, you're resolving these seeds, you're understanding why they're there, you're understanding why your life is the way that it is, and you're correcting it. And what a beautiful thing that is. And so as you, go through your life, and being so conscious of what you're sending out. So even right now, you could think about this. What loving thought could you send out to somebody that you love? Maybe sister, brother, mom, dad, friend, co-worker, somebody, pet, animal. What loving thought can you send out to somebody right now? Just do it real quick. Okay, notice how that made you feel. And then notice how we were talking about the boomerang, right? So not only did you send that out to them, not only is it received by them, it is received by them. not only is it received, but whatever is received by them and taken in and like, oh, I feel good, this is amazing, thank you for this, is then amplified, and it will return back to you at some point in the near or distant future. But as you continually do this, you're blessing other people. So rather than driving by somebody and thinking, oh, that poor unfortunate soul, that's not doing any good to anybody. It's really not. Go. If there's something that you can offer somebody and you can help them in some way, do this. But you do not need to lower your thought and your vibration and your frequency, because you are not helping that person. You are adding to that low vibration that person is probably already experiencing, and you are then planting more of that in your own life. Whereas when you hold that high vibration, you're like, oh, I'm going to go and bless this person by giving this person this wonderful thing. And then you can go and give that person that wonderful thing, and you can tell them what a beautiful and wonderful soul that they are. Maybe you can ask them if they need any help. Maybe you can help them in some way, but you can keep your vibration high the entire time that you are doing it, and you will have blessed them beyond what you can even possibly comprehend. Rather than somebody coming up and saying, oh, I'm so sorry you're going through. And some people want to hear that, right? They want that sympathy, but that's because they're vibrating at that low frequency. And so they want more of that low frequency because it's what they're comfortable with. But it is not helpful to them. It is what got them to that place in the first place. But when you can hold that high vibration and you can see the heavenly being that is there in front of you for what they truly are, a true heavenly being, you are then blessing them in this way. Even thinking of them in this way blesses them. It can activate the light within them. And that light, all it is universal love. All it is love. You are activating the love within that person. And therefore you are blessing them by doing that. What a wonderful gift you can give by just having a loving thought, by giving a loving word, by taking a loving action. I had this quote that was on my wall. I left it when I was in St. Louis, but it says, what a wonderful thing it is that no one need to wait a single second to start improving the world. And it's true. We don't need to be like, all right, well, Saturday, I'm going to go down and I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to put in my time, and I'm going to volunteer at this thing so that I can feel better and feel like I'm contributing, right? The I. No. Bless, give, sit there and do it in secret. Do it in the silence. Sit there. Meditate. Send love to all the people that you don't even got to tell them. They'll feel it. They'll know. And you were truly blessing them in this way. Because this is not about the self, right? You're not doing it because you want some self-gratification. Look at me, I'm volunteering. Look at me, I'm doing something, and now I don't feel so bad about myself. No, you can do this and do it out of the love that is there in your heart. That divine universal consciousness is what flows through you when you bless people in this way. And you can sit there and you can imagine, and this is a beautiful thing to do. You could even do it right now, if you're not driving. And if you are, maybe you can do it with your eyes open. But you could imagine this beautiful, brilliant, divine, white, heavenly light just raining down on somebody that you love. Just imagine that right now. That beautiful, bright, white, heavenly light shining down, raining down on someone that you love and filling them up. And notice how that makes you feel. Okay, and then you can pick another person and you can do it with that other person. Notice. Do it. Notice how it feels. This is what you're sending to that person. That's what you're sending to that person. You are blessing them. Huge time. Huge time. And then you might just come into contact with this person and they're feeling amazing. They're like, yeah, man, I've been feeling amazing for how long? And you will know. You will know why. You don't even have to tell them. But you'll know why. You will see proof. So when you do this, anytime that you do something like this, ask the divine for proof. Like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I want you to give me proof that it's really working. And maybe they will, an undeniable proof. Maybe they will say some words. Maybe they will say something. But you will get your proof if you believe it. And if you continually practice and send out the good, you will see that good is returned back to you in your life, and it will be magnified. It will be amplified. So when you see somebody and you have blessed them in this way, and how good and amazing they're feeling, you just expect that that is coming to you as well, because it is. When we bless others, we cannot help ourselves but to also be blessed. And what a wonderful thing this is, because this world that we live in, when everybody goes around blessing everybody, what is that like? What does that change? It gets rid of the old paradigm, it gets rid of the old dogma, it gets rid of the old ways of being and doing and seeing and thinking, and it brings in the new, it brings in spiritual evolution. It raises our consciousness levels, it raises our vibration, it raises our frequencies, and then pretty soon, we don't even remember the old way. Remember how maybe you've gotten over something in your life? Maybe you had some type of something and you're like, it's a real difficult thing to get over, and then you finally did? And how foreign that seems to you now? Like, what? I can't even believe that that was me back then. Right? It's like you're a completely different person, and it's actually because you're a completely different person. You really are. All your cells are probably completely different than they were back then. Your consciousness is completely different. You're actually a completely different person. And so what happens on a collective level when we all do this, and when we all bless each other in a beautiful, wonderful way, is that pretty soon we're like, man, I don't even remember the old way. You remember how we used to have, like, things happen in the world? I don't even remember what that was like. Now it's just beautiful bliss and peace, because we are operating out of the truth, and we are understanding the karmic laws and how they truly work, and that they do bring order into chaos. You can't have these destructive people sitting over here and talking bad about people. You can feel that vibration. You can feel it, and that's the life that they're living in. But there's consequences for that, is that they're living in that life, and they don't get to live in an elevated existence. They have chosen it for themselves, and they don't even know that they're doing it. But as they become aware, as the spiritual ones start lifting up our consciousness, pretty soon one day it flips, and they're like, and they're doing things the new way, and they don't even remember the things the old way. And people could be like, well, they didn't earn it. Well, no, you don't care, though. You don't care. When you have evolved so much spiritually, you don't care whether somebody earned it, whether somebody this, whether somebody that. You just want the good for everybody and everything, because every soul is a beautiful and wonderfully made soul. And they're all here because they're made out of love. And they're made here for goodness. And you might, know somebody and be like, this person's not here for love. They are. Like we talked about earlier, there, up until this point, has had to be, harm done so that we could evolve, right? If I came here for forgiveness, well, somebody needed to do something to me so that I could forgive it. It was actually part of the process. So is that person a bad person? They're not a bad person. They're just playing a different role right now. And if you were to look back in the past, in all your past lives, I bet that I could almost guarantee that you, yes, definitely have played that role for somebody else too, but you did it because you love them. Because you love them. Like, okay, I'm going to harm you in this way, but, it's going to catalyze this, which is then going to catalyze you evolving spiritually. And you come up with this plan, and then you come here, and then you play out the plan, and everybody forgets we had a plan, and it's supposed to be this way, and everybody gets mad about the plan, and it's like, yeah, you wrote it, man. We all came up with it as a team together. And when you realize that, then you realize, okay, there's actually nothing to forgive, because everything is based out of love. And this evolution of consciousness that's coming up, that we're going through here on the planet, it's beautiful, and it's in the quickening right now. So this is why lots of things are coming up for people to release and to let go, and it might feel for a little bit, but that's cool, because you're doing years worth of work in days now. And pretty soon there's an end to it, and then pretty soon your consciousness is clean, your mind is clean, and you're in a completely different place than where you were at. And it's a wonderful blessing. So I love you all so very much. Thank you for tuning in here. My teachings are based on the Christ letters. You can listen to those for free here on YouTube. You can listen to them or read it for free online think it's like christletters.com or something like that. Also, we have Christ Light circles. There is a schedule up here in my post. If you go and look at my post, you can see the schedule. But I will have a link for that below, and the schedule will also be through that very bottom link that we have there. So this is about 5 days a week, and you can pop on and you can join us. This is through Zoom. We do record the content that is on there so that we can post it, because we share everything with everybody. So the messages that come through, we know benefit, not just the people that show up on the call or that show up live, but they benefit so many people. And so we want to be able to share that. So something to keep in mind. Love to you guys so much, and I hope that you can join us on one of these circles. Check out the link, and if you'd like to work with me, there's also a link for that down below. I love you guys, and take care, and I will see you in the next one.